Hi, this is Elwin from Lionart Herbs and Health Mastery Academy, and I'm here today with Neil Butterfield. Neil Butterfield is a mineral expert. He's the person who I go to when I want to know about minerals, as I'm actually going to do today. He's also a nutritional expert, and he's the founder of Mineralife, which, in my opinion, and I use them every day, provides the best quality mineral supplements ever. Now, Neil, Neil, welcome.
Thank you, Elwin. Always a good time. Always good to spend some time with you. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I always find it fascinating. I always learn so much. And today we're going to go straight into it. We've already done the basic interviews as to why a person would be interested in minerals and why they would need them. So what I really want to cover today is some more advanced stuff. In fact, when we were speaking recently, you were telling me about some stuff which just sounded amazing. And I thought, you know what, Neil, stop there. We're going to record this. So that's what we're doing now. So yeah, do you mind sharing with us some of these new innovations which you're coming across and which you're soon going to be bringing to us?
Absolutely. We're very, very excited about this prospect or this particular product and ingredient that we're bringing in. But recently we formed a partnership with a biomedical company in South Africa that has developed a very unique form of fulvic acid. And that's not folic acid, which is part of the B vitamin group, but it's fulvic acid. And it's a totally different molecule. It's a very unique molecule. We have yet to hear a lot about it. It's not really a mainstream product at this point. So it really is a groundbreaking opportunity here with this particular product. It's an innovative product. It's something brand new. Fulvic acids, of course, are a completely natural occurring products or molecules that are found in soil in particular. And they are actually the result of the decomposition of organic matter in soils by microorganisms. So all these microorganisms in the soil break down the foliage, break down all the carbohydrates that are found in the plant structures and stuff that are in the soil, or the organic material basically. And the byproduct of that decomposition is it's actually humic acids, of which fulvic is a subset of the humic acid complex.
Okay.
So now fulvic acid is, and you got to picture this. Imagine that you have a golf ball. You know that a golf ball is, of course, not a very smooth surface that has all those pits in the golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fulvic acid is a similar looking molecule in that all those pits, or those, they call them cages in the case of fulvic molecule, but all those pits are binding sites, and those are areas in which nutrients can gather. So we can fill up all those pits of a golf ball with things like your zinc, your copper, all your different minerals, all your good minerals, your vitamins, amino acids, digestive enzymes, all sorts of nutrients, not just limited to minerals, but all nutrients are bound up and chelated basically with the fulvic acid molecule. And this is something that happens and occurs naturally in soils, and it's one way in which soils transport nutrients from the soil into the plant structures. And then, of course, once it gets into the plant structure, then we go ahead and eat that, and that's how we normally obtain those nutrients. But the whole process begins with fulvic acid in the soils that break down the nutrients in the soils into usable constituents for the plants. Then it binds those up or chelates them and moves them into the plant structures. Now, what scientists have recently discovered, of course, let me step back a second. Agricultural circles and scientists have known this for a very long time. And fulvic and humic acids are used extensively in particularly organic farming methods, things like that, and anywhere where they need to regenerate the soils or to improve productivity from soils, they are now utilizing fulvic and humic acids because of this great increase in potential absorption of nutrients from the soils. So it yields really good crops. from that, it took some time.
I guess it's efficient then, right? So if you only have a certain amount of minerals in soil, then you can make much better use of them. And presumably, if you're only taking a certain amount of minerals in via food or supplementation or whatever, fulvic acid is going to mean that it's much more efficiently used. Would that be correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going to get into that in more detail, but it definitely increases the mileage of the nutritional supplements and the food source that you're taking in on a daily basis. Increases the mileage of that, increases the absorption rate. And it's a really exciting development. But what really happened was the agricultural circles and many scientists had a look at all this research and wondered if this would have the same effect on the human body. And that's really what prompted everybody to start researching into the fulvic acids for human consumption. And of course, some very exciting developments have taken place since then, because everything that I described that's happening on a soil level happens in the body too. So it definitely increases the absorption rate, increases the latency time, or the time in which those nutrients remain active in your body. It's a very, very exciting molecule. But here's the kicker. On the way out, fulvic acid actually picks up things that shouldn't be in your body. So it acts as a detoxifying agent. It's particularly powerful and effective for things like heavy metal detoxification. How does it work? How does that actually operate? What happens is it's called cation exchange capacity. Now, fulvic acid has all those pits in the golf ball, and of course, let's use zinc as an example. Let's say you took a whole bunch of zinc with your fulvic acid. The zinc will be attached to the fulvic acid. The fulvic acid, being such an active molecule and one that is so small, is able to permeate into the blood cells of the body, gets into where it needs to be very effectively and very efficiently. Once it gets into your bloodstream, your body comes along and says, oh, I need zinc. Let me grab that zinc. And the attraction or the hold which fulvic has on the zinc is not as great as the attraction the body has for the zinc. So the fulvic will release the zinc to the body. But now it has an empty cage or an empty binding site, and it does not like to have that. It will run around finding something else to fill that cage. And inevitably what happens is, once your body has removed all the zincs and molecules that it needs, or particles that it needs, it'll pick something up like cadmium, lead, mercury to fill that cage, and then it leaves the body. How do we know this? We've actually done tissue-level studies on this. We know that this is happening, and we're very excited about this particular product that I'm referring to is the one from South Africa. And this biomedical company that we formed a partnership with. Fulvic acids have been used now for the last 10 years or so in human consumption, with, of course, great results. People have tremendous anecdotal results. The significance or the issue is there's been no real down-to-earth, double-blind clinical studies conducted, or very limited amounts of clinical studies being conducted in terms of human benefit. And this biomedical company, which is why we were so excited to get involved with them, they have done extensive research. They've done extensive safety studies. They've done extensive studies on, tissue-level studies, meaning they've actually proven that when you complex minerals with this particular fulvic acid, and we're even talking about our minerals, Mineralife's minerals, which of course, as you know, are ionic. They're angstrom in size, so they have a higher and greater absorption rate than any other mineral on the market anyway. But when we complex them now with this new fulvic acid, it's going to even further increase their absorption potential. And more importantly, it increases the time in which those minerals remain active in the body. Because don't forget, a mineral is really a catalyst. So it moves around the body and begins interacts with enzymes and various other things and creates these chain reactions in the body. But it can often start a reaction and then move on and start another reaction and move on and start another reaction. So by complexing it with fulvic acid, it actually increases the time in which those nutrients remain active in the body. So you definitely increase the mileage that you get when you take fulvic acid along with it.
Excellent. So
in
now,
a
Neil, just to clarify, for anyone who is already familiar with fulvic acid, maybe many of my customers might have even tried it, maybe didn't notice that much happening in particular. Are you talking about that same thing still, or are you talking about something new? And if you are talking about something new, which I know you are, how is it different? How is it new? Other than the fact that it's been researched and studied, what is different about it?
There's a lot that's different about it. It's approximately 30 times more efficient than the current available fulvic acids on the market. We're currently testing. We haven't got all the data in now, but we've gone around and collected all the fulvics we possibly could, and we've sent them off to South Africa to this biomedical lab. We're doing comparative analyses as we speak right now, comparing this particular fulvic to everything else out there. And at this point in time, there is no comparison. The fulvics that we've been using for all these years, our current fulvic acid that we use now, we've had great results with it. Don't get me wrong. Just the results from this fulvic are out of this world. It's almost supernatural in terms of how it works. It really is. And I've been in this. Let me put it to you this way. I've been in the nutrition industry now for, well over 15 years. I've seen a lot of products. I've tried a lot of products. There is nothing that I've come up against that's come into my knowledge and use that has been as exciting as this particular fulvic in terms of its benefit.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because of course, what I've spoken about here is how it increases the absorption rate of your nutrients, but there's a whole lot of other benefits to fulvic.
Please tell us.
And I'm going to just name a few here. It's an incredibly powerful antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. In fact, we've done on this particular fulvic that we have, and incidentally, the type of fulvic, it's called CHDFA. CHDFA, which stands for carbohydrate-derived fulvic acid, which we're going to get into that in a little bit. Remember I said right in the beginning, fulvic is the decomposition of carbohydrates in soils or organic matters in soils. Well, this particular company has taken that model and just put it into a controlled environment where they're now decomposing carbohydrates with microorganisms to yield a really concentrated form of fulvic acid. So what's really exciting about it is it has incredible bacterial, antiviral, antifungal properties. They've done comparative analysis with some of the top and most popular used pharmaceutical drugs. For example, in the case of the antifungal, they paralleled it with one of the very powerful pharmaceutical antifungal product, which of course has a long list of negative side effects to it, but it's an effective antifungal. And the fulvic acid, the CHDFA, actually outperformed the pharmaceuticals. It outperformed the pharmaceuticals in bacterial action, in antiviral action. Of course, there's really isn't any pharmaceuticals that can attack viruses. Fulvic acid does. We have the clinical studies. We have the clinical data to demonstrate this, to back it up. This is not just a hypothesis. This is actual factual studies. So, and again, I have to say that no other fulvic acid has gone through this stringent level of testing and ongoing testing. So we're really, really excited about it. It's being used extensively right now in Africa for the treatment of HIV and AIDS. Of course, HIV and AIDS is absolute success. Yeah, we're on stage, what they call stage 2 studies or stage 2 tests or trials right now, which means they've done a preliminary study with fantastic results. And from that, they're now breaking it down into a more advanced study and a much larger, broader base study. And this is all on studies. We're not even referring to all the anecdotal reports that are coming in and people that are traveling from other parts of Africa down to South Africa in order to get their hands on this particular product. Because people with AIDS in particular not only have a HIV virus, but of course it's an acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And fulvic acid, of course, is very powerful in terms of rebuilding that immune system. So we've seen in clinics in South Africa.
Is that because it's destroying bad stuff, or is it because it also somehow helps the immune system work better? Is it both?
It's a little bit of both. The exact action in terms of how it's enhancing the function of the immune system is yet undiscovered, but it's definitely improving one's immune system quite efficiently. And then, of course, it's acting as the antiviral, the antibacterial, the antifungal. And if you know anything about nutrition and natural health, we know that fungus is a major systemic issue in people and causes a lot of ailments that are out there.
Referred to as candida generically, right? Usually.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
And what we've seen with a lot of these folks that have gotten onto this fulvic acid that have AIDS, they typically have things like yeast and fungus overgrowth, candida, thrush. They have all sorts of things. And we have to get past that before we can even start worrying about trying to improve their health. We've seen folks that have come in that have so much candida in their mouths that they can't even swallow. They're having a hard time just getting food down their throat because it's just so inflamed with candida, and within a few days it's clearing up with the Fulvic. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
That's amazing. Neil, the thing that immediately occurs to me, and I'm sure many of my viewers as well, is okay. So if it's that powerful in this regard, which I'm sure it is. Does that mean it has some kind of hideous side effects as well then? Like, for instance, there's like hydrogen peroxide, right? That's fairly effective at killing these kind of infections as well, right? But the problem is that there's quite a lot of oxidative damage potentially from using it internally, right?
Yes.
Is fulvic acid like equivalent, or would you say it's safer?
It's considerably safer. We've done extensive safety studies on the product, and there is absolutely no indication of any sort of negative effects. Because one of the first things we thought about when we were working with this Fulvic was, oh my word, well, if it's such a powerful antibacterial, if we're drinking that, is it killing off all the beneficial bacteria in the body?
Yeah.
And in the gut. And we've done studies on that to see what would happen. And the outcome is that the Fulvic is such a small molecule that it gets absorbed long before it gets into your digestive system. And so it's not affecting the good bacterial balance in the body. It just gets into the bloodstream and kills the bacteria, viruses, and fungus in the bloodstream.
Okay. So that's specifically where it acts in the bloodstream. So it doesn't even reach the intestines.
No. It gets absorbed in the upper intestinal tract where there is no real large colonies of beneficial bacteria. So it doesn't get involved in those beneficial bacteria. It leaves them alone because it's already absorbed into the body. I mean, this thing is just so phenomenally designed. It's almost like it's a miracle product.
And it's natural, right?
100% natural, absolutely. It's in our soils. The problem is it's not in the soils to the level that it should be, and it's certainly not at the level at which we're able to concentrate it, because we're now making it under controlled conditions. We're able to do two things. We're able to ensure that Fulvic is 100% pure. It's extremely concentrated because we can control the level at which it concentrates. Every single batch will be exactly the same. Which is not something you don't get from the environmental available Fulvics that come out of the soils currently, because each shovel of soil you take may not have the same amount of Fulvic in it. So we get a much more consistent product, but we're able to ensure that those cages, those pits on that golf ball, are completely free. So, which doesn't happen with the environmental Fulvics, because the environmental Fulvics, of course, are coming from an environment that has nutrients and vitamins and minerals and things in the soils. So those cages are largely full. So that's one reason why we don't see the full benefit of the Fulvics that we're taking from our local environments. Versus this particular Fulvic, because this is completely pure, completely available for reaction. I wanted to stress one point though, because you mentioned the hydrogen peroxide and the oxidative damage. Fulvic actually protects against oxidative damage because it's an incredibly powerful
antioxidant.
Yeah, antioxidant. It hunts down those free radical particles in the body. Again, because it likes to have those cages filled. And of course, the free radical is a particle that's unstable and it's electrically charged. So Fulvic is going to really enjoy picking those up. And it does so very efficiently, does so very effectively. One other thing I have to say, in addition to all of this, Fulvic acid, or the CHDFA that Mineralife is now authorized to utilize and to sell, is an incredible anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
And again, we have the clinical studies that show this, and we've actually done comparative analysis with pharmaceutical drugs that are typically used for that purpose, for an anti-inflammatory effect. Of course, a whole list of negative side effects. Fulvic acid is performing equally, if not better, than those pharmaceutical drugs in terms of its anti-inflammatory action. So now you know what that means. That means people with arthritis, joint issues, a leaky gut syndrome, any sort of inflammatory response in the body is going to benefit from this particular fulvic acid. So once you take fulvic acid, you're getting all of these benefits all bottled up into one concentrated fulvic acid bottle. It's just phenomenal.
It makes sense because a lot of those, for instance, arthritis, a lot of the issues are kind of some kind of organisms, right? Some kind of heavy metal toxicity. And so if it's clearing that way, then it would make that better. I still want to just focus a little bit more, Neil, on this issue of, like, it sounds almost too good to be true so far. And,
Yes.
For those people who, like, for instance, have tried heavy metal detoxes or who have tried, like, candida cleansers or whatever, you tend to find one of two things happens. Either it doesn't work and nothing happens, right? Or it does work, but in the process you feel really awful while, say, this mercury is being transported out of you, or while the candida is dying off, right, as it's commonly referred to, and then being transported out of you. I know that you may not have the clinical research about this yet, but even just anecdotally, what is the actual experience of people taking something as powerful as this and as effective as this? Do they have to go through a certain amount of cleansing reaction as their body clears all this waste out, or does the fulvic kind of, maybe similar to zeolite in some way, miraculously kind of cage the bad stuff so that it causes the minimal amount of suffering as it's working its way out the body? And I'm asking that as an honest question. I really don't know, obviously, because I haven't tried this yet.
Okay, very, very, very good question. If we go back to the analogy of the golf ball, all of those pits are cages. They actually refer to specifically as cages. So indeed, Fulvic has the ability to cage up the negative nutrients in the body, like the mercury, the lead, and the heavy metals. It binds them into the fulvic acid molecule itself. So it does minimize the negative effects of doing a detox. That doesn't mean you will be completely void of any sort of negative effects, because we have seen some people that report slight nausea, slight flu-like symptoms, which are really just an indication of what is called the Herxheimer reaction, which is the healing reaction in the body. And quite often, that's just a natural progression of things. You often get worse before you get better. The fortunate thing, though, again, is that this Fulvic tends to minimize that. So if you are going to get it, it's not going to be anywhere near as bad as what you would get with a traditional sort of detox program. The exciting thing is, though, is the fact that the Fulvic actually binds those nutrients. So we know that the Fulvic leaves because we've done studies and tested that the Fulvic actually leaves the body. And it's not accumulative in the body. So that means that once it's bound those nutrients, it's leaving with those nutrients. So we know for sure that we're not just dislodging some of those heavy metals from one part of the body and then they float around and get lodged somewhere else. They're actually leaving the body. So that's very exciting development and news that we discovered with that.
Definitely.
And I think that's very important, and it's also one reason why it minimizes the effects of the detox, because it gets out really quickly. It's not hanging around in the body, circulating in the bloodstream. But again, it's not completely void. There's quite often, we've had reports where people don't feel that great. It's very short-lived, and then they start to feel the benefits of the Fulvic very quickly. Because in addition to everything that I've mentioned, because of everything I've mentioned, you start to feel very, very good very quickly. Because your energy increases. You get this fog that lifts off your brain. It's just your thoughts become much more clear. It's really just it really does sound like it's too good to be true. And that's why I'm so excited about it, because when I first heard about this, I had this exact same reaction. I thought, well, it sounds too good to be true. Until I started discovering and reading the facts about the product, and the fact that we actually have the clinical studies that show what's going on. So that's the key kicker here for this product is we have the data. We can prove that it does what I'm saying.
And so, okay, so what about one other potential downside? You said it's like 30 times stronger than what you sold before, and I know that your fulvic acid was one of the strongest in the market anyway when I,
Right.
looked and compared them. Does this mean it's going to cost a small fortune? That must be the downside, right?
It really isn't. We're trying to bring it in at a very similar price. If it's going to be more expensive, it's going to be marginal.
Wow.
And when I say marginal, $1 or $2 at the most.
Really, I honestly didn't know that. Again, Neil and I haven't spoken for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
Is it actually available now then?
It is not available yet.
Okay.
We actually have a huge shipment on the water right now, so it's somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean,
Okay.
sailing over here to us. It's taken a lot longer to get the product through the FDA customs and going through all the legal channels to import it, but it's on its way. We know once it arrives here, we don't have much to do other than to put it in bottles because all the development of the product, of course, has already happened. So it's going to get into the market very quickly as soon as it arrives. Where our expected ETA, or estimated time of arrival for the product, is sort of the 17th of next month, which is October. And I would think my first batches will be ready within a week of that. So sort of the latter half of October is where we're expecting to have this product available. I guess the only downside or the only negative to this product is it is, first of all, it's fulvic acid. So it is an acid type based product. And because it's 30 times stronger than what's currently available, and we estimate 30 times because we haven't got all the data in yet.
Sure.
But at this point, it seems to indicate that it's around that. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more, actually. Because it's so strong, it does have a pretty strong taste. But it's not something no one can cope with. It's not absolutely, but if you think about our current Fulvic, it has very little to no taste. It goes down really easy. This is a concentrate. It's going to be in a much smaller bottle, which means you take a lot less of it, but it is concentrated. And typically we find it works better if you add it to some sort of cranberry juice or raspberry juice, any sort of citrus-based juice, and that takes the taste away completely. Taking it straight out of the bottle, it has a very similar taste to balsamic vinegar.
Okay. Well, now I can believe that it's real. Okay. If it tastes not very good, then okay, there's got to be a downside. So now I'm believing it. Wow. Yeah. So okay, something just occurs to me, Neil. If it tastes like balsamic vinegar, can I add it to olive oil and put it on my salad?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, problem sorted.
Yeah. And I've already tried to do that myself because it's got a very similar taste to balsamic vinegar, and yeah, it works great.
Great.
And that's a really good way to get the Fulvic in, because if you just because don't forget, if you have a really healthy salad that you've put together with a whole sorts of organic ingredients, when you take the Fulvic and you're using that as a salad dressing, you're just increasing the absorption rate of those nutrients. So you get more benefit out of that salad than you would if you didn't add the Fulvic to it. So there's really no downside here at all that we can see.
Would you say theoretically it's a good idea to add Fulvic to every meal, and especially if you have problems digesting and absorbing nutrients?
Of course, absolutely, because it's going to increase the absorption rate of those nutrients, which is really, really exciting. One thing people have mentioned to us is, well, if it increases the absorption of nutrients, if you take it along with something that's bad for you, will it increase the absorption rate of that? And not necessarily from what we are able to see now with the current level of studies that we've done. Because if the body doesn't really have a use for that particular molecule or whatever it might be that's attached to the Fulvic, let's use mercury as an example. Well, then the Fulvic simply won't release that mercury to the body because the body isn't asking for mercury. It's not pulling, because the body literally has to pull those nutrients off the Fulvic, and the Fulvic will let them go. But it typically doesn't release the ones that are not needed by the body. At least that's what we've been able to see with all the studies we've done. And remember, I said a little earlier, we've done pretty extensive safety studies, because these were all concerns that this company came up with, and before they even went to market with it, they obviously wanted to make sure that they're putting something out there that's safe. And that's the first thing they did. So, and they've spent an incredible amount of money here. In fact, at one point in this whole evolution of this particular type of Volvic, the South African government was actually involved, and it was a South African government-funded project that fell apart, and then this company continued with that research. But my point is that they had a lot of money to do a lot of studies and a lot of testing, something that us at Mineralife could never have possibly dreamt of putting together. These guys had big pockets, deep pockets, so they were able to really put a lot of development into this, development levels that far exceed anything else that's currently on the market in terms of Fulvic acids.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah. So Neil, in terms of like getting down to practicalities with it all, I know like a lot of people are going to be thinking, okay, oh, I recognise that. I have arthritis, or I know someone who does. I have candida, or I know someone who does. I have problems with digestion, or whatever. Can you recommend dosages and like instructions, user instructions for some of these particular issues that you've mentioned? Like, is it a matter of taking this much 3 times a day, or how does it work?
Well, all the studies we've done so far, and this is really pretty exciting, is they've all been conducted, and the dosages used was just 15 milliliters, or a tablespoon once a day. That was it.
Okay.
So we only ever studied this product in terms of, except for the safety studies, because we took large dosages to see if you could overdose on the product, to see if the body would accumulate. So that's the only exception. But for the most part, and most of the anecdotal stuff, including the HIV studies that have been conducted, is just 15 milliliters, 1 tablespoon once a day. So based on that, we know that if it's working that well with 15 milliliters a day, if you double your dose and take it once in the morning and once at night, then you're just going to increase your benefit. You're going to increase the rate at which the candida is getting killed and the viruses are dying off and things like that. Certainly, I would be recommending, of course, if somebody is currently battling some sort of virus infection, a cold or flu or something pretty nasty, that they could take it several times a day. Okay. And it will knock out that virus just that much quicker. But all the studies we've done so far have been on just 1 tablespoon once a day. And that's another reason why I'm so incredibly excited about this, because you get all that benefit with 1 tablespoon a day. It's just...
I'm just smiling now. I'm imagining like the marketing headline: 1 tablespoon of salad dressing a day will cure all ills, or something like that.
Yes.
It's incredible, isn't it? But you know, I know that we've got some open-minded people on board here, of course, who are going to be watching this. Like myself, right? I'm open-minded. I'm skeptical, as you can obviously tell, but I'm open-minded too. And so I guess the proof is in the pudding, right? We're going to just try it, and that's exactly what you've been doing as well in your own personal experience, right, Neil?
Absolutely.
You've been trying it yourself, presumably your clients, people around you, and can you share with us any kind of anecdotal evidence? You know, any stories for any people who've had results, people in your life?
Yes, because of course that's exactly what we did. We got a bunch of samples, and we got a bunch of base products to work with, because I have to add, one of the exciting things that we're looking at doing with this Fulvic acid is, of course, coming out with Fulvic acid. So we're going to have the Fulvic acid product in itself, just pure Fulvic in a bottle, but we have calculated very specifically the required amount of Fulvic that is needed to be added to all our other minerals to get those benefits I mentioned earlier, which was the increased absorption rate, increased mileage out of those minerals. So in addition to having the Fulvic, we're going to have Fulvic acid in all of our products. Every single one of them will have Fulvic acid in. So our whole product range is going to be updated in the next couple of months to include this Fulvic. So we're really excited about that.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're I mean, it's a lot of work, but we're getting there. And
so everything will work more effectively. All of your entire range. Not that it isn't already effective now, but
well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is effective now, and this is what I'm so excited about. And I can't wait until we get it in there so we can test it and see what's happening. And especially with things like our blood sugar support, which we have incredible. And that's another benefit, by the way. Another study that was done was with
The Fulvic?
diabetes
Oh,
and
diabetes.
Volvic.
Okay.
Yeah, Volvic and diabetes. It actually lowers blood sugar levels. We can clinically prove that. So we're going to be adding, of course, fulvic acid to our blood sugar support.
What about in the case of hypoglycemia? Would that then make it worse, or is it more that it's a regulating thing?
No, it's more of a regulating thing. It helps to control blood sugar levels.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. So, of course, we're really, really excited about this product. But back to your original question, which was what kind of reports have we seen?
Yeah, if you can share some stories, please. Yeah.
Sure. We've had it out to, of course, all the people that work here. We've used it, family members, things like that. And I actually have one family member who has a pretty major back issue, which is the result of compression of the spinal discs together, and because of that, he has systemic inflammation throughout his body, and he has these flare-ups that come, which are pretty aggressive, where they will affect all the joints, toes, knees, everything will just flare up and really inflame. So, of course, when I discovered that fulvic acid was a powerful anti-inflammatory, I jumped right on board that. And funnily enough, the timing couldn't have been more perfect because he was having a major flare-up, and he was working with a chiropractor, which of course are specialists in the back and things. And we got him on the fulvic, and he had been battling with this for some time. And within a few days, the chiropractor was even reporting back and saying, "What are you taking? Because I can feel the joints are coming down. The inflammation in the joints is just subsiding." And within a few days, he was feeling what he described as 100% better.
Wow.
And you could visibly see the inflammation disappear. We've had other people that we've put it on that are known arthritis sufferers that have had pretty severe joint pains, particularly in their hands, that has really begun to subside quite rapidly. They've noticed an extensive difference pretty quickly. We had somebody down in Louisiana that had a a chronic fungal infection.
Was that externally or internally?
No, yeah, externally. Toe fungus.
Okay.
And she had tried every sort of pharmaceutical that she could get her hands on, and nothing had cleared this up. The fulvic acid cleared it up. Took it away.
Was that applied externally? I was going to ask you that.
Applied externally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So how would that work? Would you apply it pure or diluted?
Yeah, just pure.
Just pure.
Yeah, you could use a dropper or a tablespoon, whatever you needed, just a couple of drops on there and just let it soak in. One of the other things
and how long did that take? Sorry, just kind of curious about that. Was that
about a week?
Wow.
About a week. But don't forget, this was a severe chronic issue that pharmaceuticals weren't even clearing up.
Yeah.
And the fulvic really made an enormous impact within a week, which is really exciting. And these are people we know. These are family members and extended family members. So we're really excited about it. It's just incredible, the kind of results we're getting back. But my own experience, and now I'm a pretty healthy guy, so I work out, I train, I do hiking, so I'm pretty healthy. So for me, it's difficult for me to get onto a natural health product and say, oh my gosh, I could feel it.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty healthy anyway, so it's difficult for me to find that. But I honestly believe that when I took that fulvic, I felt it. I just felt a surge of energy. It was really bizarre. I could feel the energy from taking it, and I could feel, in my opinion, that my cognitive function increased, that I had just a slight lift of a veil, sort of a what I call the yellow haze out of my life. It just lifted up, and it's pretty incredible. And especially when you add that to your morning starter shake, because in there I've got all sorts of superfoods, and I just add a nice big healthy chunk of fulvic, and it just increases the rate at which those nutrients are getting absorbed in the body, and it just increases the power of that superfood drink in the morning, because I try to have one of those every day. I don't always manage to do that, but I try.
Yeah.
And I noticed a huge difference in that. So
Excellent. So would you say that's actually better then, if you have the choice between adding it to just the water or adding it to your food? You're probably actually better off putting it in like a smoothie than having it just in water.
It depends, I guess, on the result you're trying to achieve.
Oh
Now,
yeah, okay.
if you were had a sort of virus that you knew your body was coming down with and you needed to boost your immune system, then I would take it directly.
Okay.
Because you don't want to bind up those cages. You want those cages to be there killing off the viruses.
So when you said directly, not even in water, because even then it might bind with some stuff.
No, no, water's fine.
Water's all
You
right?
can dilute it in water, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Or even in some juice, but water would be better in that case.
Okay.
Because anything you add to it, it's going to fill up some of those cages. And of course, we have a really large number of those cages, so it's not going to make that much difference if you put it in some orange juice or some cranberry juice. But in my opinion, I would probably just put it in water in that case. But on a day-to-day as a maintenance product, I'd be adding it to my shake. Because it's just going to increase the absorption rate of those nutrients. It's going to increase the time in which those nutrients remain active in the body. All of that's really exciting.
So as a medicine, have it on its own, whether it's arthritis or candida or whatever, and as a tonic, have it with food, ideally.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, this is really exciting, and it's really exciting to. It's almost like a sales pitch without a sale at the end of it, because you can't even buy it yet for another month or a month and a half or whatever. But we're just letting you know about this because we feel it's, you know, and that's it. Like I said, I was talking to Neil a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. We have to tell people about this as soon as possible, right? Because even though it may not be available for you to try yet, and obviously we do encourage you to try it. It's nice to just know that there is a solution out there, you know, like say that person that you said who'd had that, you know, fungal infection on her toes or for years or whatever, and no, she's even tried every pharmaceutical and that doesn't work. It's just a relief to know, okay, there's something on the way that can actually deal with that. You know, if you've had candida and you've tried the candida diets and all the rest of it and none of it's really worked, it just comes back again every time you go back to eating normally. It's nice to know, okay, there's something that can actually deal with it, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're really excited about it, and you know, there's so many other uses for this Fulvic that I haven't even mentioned yet. We've done a lot of clinical studies on oral health, and they're using it extensively in that right now. In fact, we have ongoing studies in the UK on this particular Fulvic. In terms of its benefit for the oral cavity.
I was going to ask about that because it's an acid, and there is that issue of acids damaging teeth usually, right? So what's the conclusion of that? Yeah.
Well, we're not too sure exactly what its action is, but most importantly for the mouth, what it's preventing is things like gingivitis, just gum disease. It's decreasing the rate at which you get cavities, not necessarily because it's directly preventing or strengthening the teeth, but because it's breaking down any sort of bacteria and things that shouldn't be in the mouth or that are ultimately lead to damaging effects on the teeth and things. So it's just really exciting stuff that we're seeing. Just overall improved health of the oral cavity from taking that. So much so that in South Africa, at least, they've already developed mouthwash that you can use. But this is a really unique mouthwash in that it tastes like similar to some of the mouthwashes that are currently available. But of course, current mouthwashes contain alcohol. And that's not always a desirable thing because there's actually a study I recently studied or read out of Australia that showed that mouthwashes were causing mouth cancer in children.
Okay.
So, of course, you know, alcohol is not always a good thing, but this, of course, doesn't have that effect. But it has all the antibacterial, bacterial functions that alcohol does, and probably even greater. But the great thing about this particular mouthwash is you can drink it. So you swallow out your mouth and you can actually swallow it.
Now, Neil, you haven't actually mentioned probably the very first thing which I was introduced to fulvic acid for, which David Wolfe in the raw food movement kind of pioneered its use for, and that's for decalcification, right? For breaking down calcification, whether it's kidney stones or gallstones or calcification of the arteries. Have you looked into that at all as well as yet another benefit?
We haven't in terms of clinical studies at this point with that. Our focus right now in terms of the clinical studies is on its antiviral benefit because, of course, this biomedical company is African-based, so they're working on that. But of course, like you rightly said, and David Wolfe is the guy who pioneered this whole thing, is it absolutely works for decalcification. So if our Fulvic is 30 times stronger than anything else out there, I would hazard a guess that this is going to work that much better. In fact, we're actually having talks right now with David Wolfe, and we're introducing him to this particular Fulvic as we speak. So as soon as it lands here, we're going to be sending him a bunch of products. And of course, he has a really wide circle of influence, and he is a user and a believer in a lot of our Mineralife products right now. So really excited to continue our relationship with him, and we're hoping that he's going to give us some pretty incredible feedback, particularly with regards to the decalcification, because that's such a major thing that he promotes and believes in and teaches. So, we're looking forward to the feedback that we get from that.
Excellent. So he might do his own research in that particular area, as that's his specialty.
Yeah, it is one of his many specialties. But definitely, yeah.
I know. I get what you're saying, because obviously that's more of a longevity thing. Well, where this comes from, there's people dying all the time, really at an early age, right? So that's obviously going to be the priority, not not living forever, just living a decent lifespan. Let's start with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And really what happened is they decided, look, they need to consolidate. They're spending so much time and effort and money on various things that they needed to just consolidate the efforts and put as much effort into one particular area, and they're doing two actually areas, and that's the oral health, which they're doing studies in England, and then the antibacterial or the antiviral, the AIDS studies in Africa. So, but the fortunate thing for us who are interested in longevity and perhaps other issues that we may be contending with is that these studies have been done. There are a lot of studies, certainly far more studies than any other fulvic acid product out there. And what I'm really excited about and I'm waiting for, is the results from our comparative analysis study that I mentioned, where we've sent over all the top-selling brands of Fulvic to this company in Africa, and we're doing lab tests. We're going to test its antibacterial properties, its antiviral, and compare them to what Mineralife has. And I'm having a wild guess, but it's going to be a lot better.
Now, Neil, you've mentioned a lot of this research. Is for those few viewers who are kind of scientifically minded and would like to find out more about it, is that published research? Is that something that anyone could get their hands on, or is this for your eyes only at the moment?
No, there is actually a published website that has all the completed studies. Now, remember that there are a lot of ongoing studies, and any of those ongoing, of course, are not published. But there is a website, and I actually have it up here, which I'm happy to share with everybody. They can go have a look at this. And remember that this is a company. You can't buy products from these guys. These guys just sell the actual raw material. And we are an authorized distributor, and we are authorized agents for this particular product. So you can get the product from us, but certainly they have all the clinical studies you need on this particular website. The website is Volvhold, and it's an acronym for Fulvic Holdings.
So FULVHOLD?
No, FULHOLD.
FULHOLD.com?
.com. That's it.
Excellent.
I'll say it again. It's FULHOLD.com.
Excellent.
Volvhold.com. And when you get on there, it's a really easy to navigate site, particularly if you're interested in some of the deeper clinicals. They have that, but they also have the what they call the layman's explanation, which is just a simple explanation, and then they go on and publish the actual studies, which can be pretty complex. But if you're a healthcare practitioner or somebody that has some experience in that field, feel free, go ahead, read them. It's all out there. Everything that I've spoken about today is on this website. and the studies are published. And these are really exciting studies. This is an exciting product. We really, it's just out of this world, actually.
Well, I can't wait to try it, Neil. I mean, I think that's the main thing. You don't have to be reading scientific studies, of course, to get any benefit from this. I know there's always a few people who want to know, so if we can provide that, that's awesome. But I think for most people watching, all we really want to know is, let's try it as soon as possible. So,
Absolutely.
I hope you'll be providing it to your resellers like myself as soon as it's there. Would that be the case?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Okay,
as soon as it hits the ground and we have it, we'll be contacting everybody. We have a number of people who have put pre-orders in already, but we have a lot. That's why it's taking a long time to come here, because it had to be put on a ship. But it's heading out, and hopefully there are some bad weather systems in the Gulf of Mexico right now. We're hoping that doesn't delay anything and force the ship to hang out a little longer. But at this point in time, it looks like the estimated time of arrival is the 17th of October.
Excellent. And then a week later you're on the bottles. Probably a week later they'll be at Lionheart Herbs. So if you're in the EU anyway, then you're probably looking at 1st of November, something like that. If you're in the US, you're going to have access a little bit sooner.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Neil. It's been a really fascinating interview. I'm really glad that we recorded that. I can't wait to try it, and I'm actually going to have a look at this site that you recommended and look into a bit of the research as well, because it sounds fascinating, And I don't, a lot of what I do these days, Neil, is coaching and consulting with people, right? More than anything.
Right.
So, and in those cases, like I know you have real life, people who you're helping every day as well. A lot of the time, it's a struggle to know what to do to really help people, or even if you know exactly what to do, it's helping people whilst them having the minimum amount of suffering, right? So if this fulvic acid can do that and get rid of things like candida and infections and heavy metals with the minimal possible suffering, I think it's just an incredible gift to the world. And I don't know what serendipity or opportunistic thinking or whatever it was, but whatever it was that led you to find this, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so and for sharing it with the world. I think it's absolutely awesome.
Well, thank you. And like I keep saying, and I've said many times today in this interview, we're really excited about it. I think everybody that is out there listening to this message owes it to themselves to just at least try it and see what kind of benefits you can get out of this Fulvic. I truly believe that this is the next revolution in the natural health industry. I really believe that this product's going to redefine the way we use our supplements right now. I think in the near future, almost everybody that wants to make anything that's worth its weight in gold will be adding this fulvic acid to it. And it's just, I think it's going to be the vitamin C of in the next 20 years. It's going to be that well known that everybody's going to know what fulvic acid is, and everybody's going to know what this type of fulvic acid is, because this is the one that has pioneered all the studies. This is the one that has done all the testing, has been proven to work, has been proven to be effective, but also safe for human consumption. And that's important, it doesn't have any heavy metals in it. It's not adding any bad stuff to you, because that's one thing I have to say with environmental sources of fulvic acid. Concern for the manufacturers is always the level of heavy metals that are in there, because heavy metals are in our soils. So and we're accustomed to getting exposed to them because they're in our food sources. The problem is somebody who has an excess accumulation of those nutrients doesn't want to be adding, not nutrients, those heavy metals, doesn't want to be adding additional heavy metals. But with this particular Fulvic, we eliminate any of that guesswork. We know exactly what's in the product. It's produced the same way every single time. It's very controlled conditions in terms of how it's produced. But is it natural? Some people might say, well, you're producing it in the lab. It can't be natural. It's 100% natural, because we're not doing the work. We're just providing the environment for the microorganisms to break down the carbohydrates. And it's that breakdown process, or that decomposition process, results in fulvic acid being produced. So it's a completely natural process.
Wonderful, and thank you so much. And if you're watching this right now, this is the cutting edge of things, right? And
Absolutely.
I know there was like a recent thing as well of Clarity, right? I don't know if you heard of that, Neil. A lot of kind of similar-ish claims were made of that, and I never, gave that any truck. So I just want to say I don't think this is another that. I trust Neil personally. He's never led me wrong before. His product's absolutely awesome. As I say, I've given you Neil's given you, where you can see all the published research. So again, this isn't some kind of scam like with Clarity. This is a real powerful, potentially life-transforming thing that I personally can't wait to try. So thank you so much for sharing with us, Neil. And maybe
Sure.
once it's already on the market, we can reconvene and talk about some of the the many, I'm sure, testimonials that you're going to be hearing from people. But for now, I know you're a busy man, so I'm going to leave you to it. And just thank you once again for being with us.
Thank you for spending time with me. I always enjoy talking with you. It's exciting.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to give it a try.